David Davis explained the reason he is confident Britain and the EU will strike a free trade agreement in a recent podcast. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is drawing up plans to renege on the UK's Brexit deal on Northern Irish border checks. In a move that could bring Brexit trade talks to a halt as they enter a crucial final phase, Downing Street is publishing legislation to override agreements it has already made. In an attempt to put pressure on the EU to concede to Britain's demands on fishing rights and state aid, Mr. Johnson also issued an ultimatum. Yesterday, he said that no deal would be a good outcome for Britain and set the October deadline. He added, "If we can't agree by then I do not see that there will be a free trade agreement between us, and we should both accept that and move on." Although the UK formally left the EU in January, it has continued to follow rules set in Brussels during a transition period, which ends on December 31 while discussions over a long-term trade agreement continue. Another round of talks, the eighth, begins today, but neither side is expecting a breakthrough. Despite the chances of no deal looking increasingly likely, in a recent podcast, former Brexit Secretary David Davis explained why an agreement could actually be in sight. Speaking to LBC broadcaster Ian Dale, who moved his Edinburgh Festival All Talk to Zoom due to the coronavirus pandemic, Mr. Davis claimed a deal will probably be struck in the dying moments of the talks. He explained, "The last 3 days are as important as the last 3 years." The solution, he added, would be a patchwork of separate agreements on fisheries, trade and the protection of citizens' rights. Mr. Davis made similar comments in 2019 when Mr. Johnson was negotiating the withdrawal agreement with the EU, and he turned out to be right. He wrote on Twitter, "I have consistently argued that a Brexit deal will not be sealed until the final few weeks leading up to October 31. Attempts to block no deal only serve to weaken the UK's negotiating hand at this critical time and reduce the likelihood of a deal." Britain and the EU reached an agreement on October 17.